I didn't even want to do this ridiculous story. I really didn't. But I woke up this morning and I see AOC is still on it. She's still on it. She won't get off. She's milking the shit out of this whole controversy and media spectacle. And she will not let go of this news cycle. It's been days now. It's been days since Florida Representative Ted Yoho called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a fucking bitch outside of Congress, and AOC will not shut the fuck up about it. Now, to be clear, of course, Ted Yoho was wrong for just coming up out of nowhere calling AOC a fucking bitch and whatever else he called her. And of course, nobody should have to go to work and put up with bullshit like that from their colleagues and people that they have to work with. I'm not arguing that. I'm not debating that. But the way AOC has handled all this has been incredibly silly, and it's definitely worth criticism. If she wanted to take action against Ted Yoho and file some type of formal complaint with human resources in the House, I don't even know how the fuck that works, but if she wanted to do something like that, make a formal complaint, ask for him to be censured, I don't know what it is. Whatever. It wouldn't be my top priority, for damn sure. I wouldn't be coming out here defending her for it or anything like that. But she'd be well within her rights to do that. But the theatrics, they're just ridiculous at this point. She's talked to several reporters about this. She's done multiple different tweet threads about this. Retweeting, liking tweets, bunch of other different social media posts about this. She went out and did a whole floor speech on the floor of Congress about this. And she got some other women in Congress to give some more speeches about this kind of shit. And it's like, okay, all right now, let's have some perspective of all that's going on in this country. 50 million people unemployed. The unemployment insurance is supposed to run out by the end of this month. And Congress, if they expand it or extend it, they're going to cut it, and they're going to cut it drastically, the amount of money that people are getting in unemployment benefits. That's what's happening right now in this country. At least 50 million people, most likely way more than that, maybe a third of the country, has no health care, has no health insurance in the middle of a global pandemic, a health crisis. That's what's going on right now. There's an eviction crisis. 28 million people are at risk of being evicted by October. That's what's happening in this country right now. At least 150,000 people are dead. Like I said on the show, I don't like to harp away on these official numbers, because the reality is we all know these numbers are multiple times higher than what is officially being reported. At least 4 million people have been infected so far, and their cases are rising dramatically. That's what's happening in this country right now. And the response from the government: corporatism, rank oligarchy and corruption, giant bailouts, trillions of dollars in bailouts for the rich and corporations. That's what's happening in this country. And for AOC to selfishly take the news cycle for at least 2 days now, and to harp away on this exchange as if it's the biggest fucking thing going on in this country right now, it is so selfish, and it is just childish, and it's distracting from what people really should be talking about. It's distracting from the real fight that needs to be had, which is a bailout of the people right now. She is busy virtue signaling about sexism and discrimination that women face to distract from the fact that she isn't doing a goddamn thing to address real crises that are going on in this country right now, that it's her job and the job of Congress to create legislation to fix those problems. She has spent days carrying on about how somebody called her a fucking bitch. And like I said, it serves as a distraction. Because what is she not talking about? She's not talking about the fact that the overwhelming majority of the Democratic caucus in the House and in the Senate decided that They would rather spend $740 billion to just give a blank check to the military-industrial complex for endless wars over just cutting the budget 10% to use that to fund programs like a universal mask program to fund and improve and expand the testing for coronavirus in this country and for therapeutics and other things to deal with this crisis that we're dealing with at home. AOC has nothing, no words of criticism or scorn for her party. And at the same time, along with the passing of the National Defense Authorization Act, what else is going on right now that she has absolutely no input on? Not a word, not a peep to say about it. Right now, the Democrats, they're getting rolled in this next bailout, stimulus, relief bill, whatever you want to call it. Right now, the negotiations are happening. Right now, the bill is being written. And what is in that bill? The Republicans, yet again, they're running the show. They're making all the demands. And the Democrats are just going to sit back and vote for whatever it is they put in front of them. And what is in that bill is, I don't know if it's more obscene than what was in the first couple corporate bailouts. They have one of the top priorities was a corporate liability shield so that nobody can sue any of these corporations for their mishandling of the coronavirus that leads to the infection and possibly potentially the deaths of their customers or their employees. That was top priority, the corporate liability shield. After that, a fucking payroll tax cut. A payroll tax cut. If that wasn't bad enough, they're going to add in the other top priority of this bill is a capital gains tax cut. All these things are nothing but giant giveaways to the multinational corporations, billion-dollar corporations, and to their rich executives. In that bill, they're planning on cutting the unemployment benefits. They're planning on cutting it from $600 a week extra in unemployment insurance to maybe $300 or possibly even less than that for the 50 million people who filed for unemployment since this crisis started. This is going to plunge even more people into poverty. This is going to add the amount of people at risk of eviction, millions of people to that list. And of course, nothing about UBI, nothing about Medicare for All. And instead of making clear demands, instead of using this news cycle where she's her name is being blasted all over the place, instead of using that to make demands for the left and for workers in this country, she's just going to virtue signal. And she's going to clutch her pearls and she's going to feed into the spectacle, give however many speeches she feels like on the floor, and tell everybody how outraged she is about how Ted Yoho called her a fucking bitch. The jury's in for me, and it's clear that she is no longer leading this populist, working class, left-wing revolution to take on the establishment anymore. She has resigned from that role, and now she is fully embraced the role of corporate Democrat extraordinaire. And you can say, oh man, she still says Medicare for All. She tweets Medicare for All sometimes, and she tweets living wage and free college and stuff like that. So of course she's still a progressive. You can say anything, and it's been widely understood amongst the left-wing movement in this country for a while now that politicians, specifically Democratic politicians, they will lie and they will gaslight you and they will pretend like they're on their side, so you can't trust their rhetoric. And the same is true for the elected progressives. They are all politicians, so the same rules apply. Her biggest role in the Democratic Party isn't going to be to vote in line with all their corporatist legislation, which she very well might end up doing very early on in her career. So let's see how that goes. But it seems that her role is going to be the number one sheepdog for the corporate Democrats and tricking people on the left into buying into this neoliberal fantasy of incremental change and accepting half measures. Because if you think about it, who else is going to be able to do that for the Democrats if not the elected progressives? who better to throw a wet towel over the revolution than the people who are pretending to be leading that very same revolution? And for the last 4 years, they've used the threat and the fear-mongering of how dangerous Donald Trump is as a way to keep the real left in line and to keep them from really going all out and waging war against the Democratic establishment. For the last 4 years, they used Trump for that, and for the 8 years before that, when it was a Democrat president, Obama had enough charisma and vague, generic left-wing rhetoric that he was able to trick a lot of progressives into thinking he was on their side. And so that was the case for the first 4 years of the administration. Joe Biden will not, I'm telling you from right now, if he's president, he will not be able to pull one over on the left like how Barack Obama was able to, and talk sweet, talk out of both sides of his mouth, and tell us how much he wants to do real bold, radical, revolutionary left-wing change in this country, while at the same time giving a blank check to the military-industrial complex, giving a blank check to Wall Street, giving polluters in the fossil fuel industry a pass, exacerbating climate change, doing the exact kind of policies you'd expect from a rabid right-winger, while at the same time pretending to be this woke progressive. Joe Biden does not have the skills to pull that off. So the Democratic Party, the only way they're going to get the left, the only way they're going to be able to sheep herd the left is with people like AOC. AOC and Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders, they have so much goodwill among people on the left, well-intentioned lefties, that they'd be able to trick a decent amount of them into just going along with the incrementalism and the neoliberalism of the Democratic Party. We're already seeing it right now. And you can see that in everything that AOC and all these elected progressives do now. The end goal of all their actions lately has been imploring the left to fall in line, bend the knee, and take whatever bullshit the Democratic Party is giving you without any type of resistance, as opposed to mobilizing the left and applying public pressure to get real left-wing policy concessions. The message to the left is always fall in line, do whatever the Democratic Party wants, and never, here are our demands, we're not going to fall in line, and we're going to be a threat to the Democratic Party and to their policy agenda. You see that in how she was bragging about all the crumbs that we got in the endless corporate bailouts. She was trying to get the left all excited about that. Oh, guys, don't be mad. Look at all the great things we got. You see that with the breaking their backs, trying to get a neoliberal corporatist elected, the same person promising to veto Medicare for all in a pandemic. Oh, guys, come on. You just have to. You have to get behind Joe Biden. Don't make any demands. Don't withhold your vote. Don't apply public pressure to get him to your position. You have to vote for him, and then we'll take it from there. And when it's not that, when it's not getting us to be complacent with neoliberal policies, she's spending all of her energy on what I'm going to call from now on aimless activism, which is stoking up a bunch of energy that's on the left and having that energy used in completely unproductive ways. And like with the whole Goya boycott, she made an entire started this days-long beef with Goya and telling everybody to boycott the CEO because he said something nice about Trump. Completely, like I said, aimless activism. There is no point to that. What are we going to do? Boycott Goya until he says bad things about Trump? There is no policy goal there. And at the same time she was doing that, had nothing to say about the real grassroots protests and activism that was protesting again outside the House and offices of dozens of people in House leadership and Senate leadership for people's bailout. That's where the real activism was, but instead AOC diverted the energy of the left into this aimless activism with a goofy-ass Goya boycott. When it came to this is something I haven't talked about on the show yet, but the other day I came across an hour-long, basically a talk show. She's hosting Bernie Sanders style talk shows now, where she's getting together a bunch of people and talking about issues and trying to come up with solutions to problems, solutions that we already know. But she did a whole hour-long talk show about this upcoming housing and eviction crisis. 28 million people expected at the risk of being evicted by October. Did an hour-long talk show about it, and instead of organizing and harnessing the energy and support for or actions like a rent strike to get policies like rent and debt cancellation for the duration of the pandemic and economic crisis, instead of organizing for that, she spent the entire talk show explaining people the eviction process. She was explaining them how what to do when your landlord is trying to throw you out on your ass in the middle of a pandemic. She was giving them a bunch of links of housing lawyers and resources that they can reach out to help them through the eviction process. That's how she, the most popular left-wing politician in this country, is deciding to go about this entire eviction crisis, telling people, giving them a roadmap of how to navigate the whole entire eviction court, and packing up your stuff, and when exactly you should take all your stuff out and put it on the street, so your landlord could change the locks. Doing all this useless shit that, like I said, has no real left-wing policy goal in sight. And here we are at the latest distraction with this whole feud that she has going on with Ted Yoho. I mean, this is what we're getting with the elected progressives. And the reason I keep coming out here talking about them on this show, I don't want to. I wish I was talking about some other things. But what's going on is so insidious, and it's just such a callback to what we witnessed under the Obama administration and how they rolled the left, sheep herded a bunch of people into blindly voting for Democrats and supporting the Democratic Party, all while they were doing the same right-wing corporatist policies of the Republicans. So I'm trying to put people onto that. I'm trying to let you know, hey guys, the players in the game might have changed, but the game is very much the same. They're still going to try to sheep herd the left and progressives into voting for the Democratic Party, and they have no intention of doing any of the policy priorities of those the people on the left. And this time, instead of a charismatic, history-making black president who's going to be the sheepdog, this time it's going to be AOC and Ilhan Omar, these elected progressives who came on the scene as these big flaming revolutionaries leading this populist charge for the left wing to take over the establishment, the corporate establishment. Well, now they're the ones who are going to be the sheepdogs of the Democratic Party, and they're the ones who's going to shove incrementalism and neoliberal policies down our throat and tell us, oh, it's going to get better sometime down the future. Oh, we're gonna do the policies that you need sometime in the future. Just keep on voting for us and keep on co-signing our corporatist policies to the end of time, and maybe we'll give you some table scraps later on down the road if we feel like it.